Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patrick Leonard. I teach IT and Computer Science in Wilberforce College, and today's lesson is all about web design. Okay, now in the course of today's lesson, we're going to learn about a few very useful and interesting and enhancing tools that you can apply to a website, and you can then make your website much more interesting and interactive. Okay, so I'm going to go through 6 things, and they are as follows. So let's get started with the first one. The first one is adding a picture to a slideshow. Now, to show you the existing web page that I have sort of put together and I've instructed you to kind of like model your web design on, there is a slideshow here near the top of the page. And of course, without going into too much, there's a navigation bar, there's a logo, and we've got other functionality as well down here, like buttons and further useful sort of sections like for a YouTube gallery and so on, a picture gallery, etc. But for the moment, the first thing is a slideshow, right? So how do you add a picture to this slideshow? Already we have 4 of them. These are what I call placeholder images. What we're going to do is we're going to see can we find a way to add a picture to this collection of 4 so as to have like 5 pictures and therefore 5 buttons as well, so as to allow us to go back and forth between the 5 available images. Now, excuse me, to save time, I've already downloaded an image that I want to put in. The images that are already there are named background and then background 2, background 3, background 4, okay? I have located another one called background 5, which is like sort of an image of an office block. Now, this may open with Paint. Just want to quickly show you what the image actually is. This is an image of an office block, and I want to see can we add this into our website to go with the 4 existing images. So, how do we do that? What we do is we open up our website in Notepad++. Of course, all of our website resources are stored in this folder here, Website 2020, and that's the main HTML file that we're going to use to edit and modify our particular website. So, you've got to find the code that controls that particular section of the website. It's line 76. And line 76, excuse me, is to do with the actual carousel, it's called in the code. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this code, okay, that controls one particular image, begins and ends with a div, and then we've got the code for an image in the middle. We copy it, we make another copy of that, so we duplicate it, and then we change this number 4 to a number 5, alright? Bearing in mind that the image that I showed you in the folder is called background 5, okay, so we save that. The other change we make is we zoom up to line 55, which is here, this section. You'll see there are 4 images listed, or 4 items in the list. We've got to make a 5th one here, okay? So we copy this one, and we push it down, make a new line, and we change this number here to a 4. So now there are 5 objects. They start with the number 0, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in total. We save that. So if we go back to our browser, and we refresh by pressing F5, so quickly refreshes, we now have, I don't know if you can see it from where you're sat or maybe on the video, but there are now 5 buttons here, okay? Whereas there were 4 before. And if you click the buttons one at a time, it takes you all the way to the last one, the 5th one, the one we just implemented. The 5th picture is now available as part of the slideshow, the image of the office block, okay? And that's the first the first task of 6 that we're going to look at in today's lesson. The second one is Google Maps. So how do we implement Google Maps on our website? Now, if you look at our website itself, you'll see that as good as it is, there isn't any like thing that indicates how to find the company, all right? So how do we find the company? Well, first of all, I would say, if we back up a second and think about where do we want this map to go, I would say a good place to put it would be something like this area here. Now, this is just placeholder text and a placeholder image, but I think that could be very good for directions to a particular business, and also put in the map here where the letter B is on the left-hand side. So my suggestion would be to go to the code again and to find the code that controls that particular section. Now, the more you work with this code, the more sort of user-friendly it gets. It takes time to get comfortable using it, but once you understand some of the basic ideas of tags and so on, it isn't as bad as maybe it is at the outset. So, line 282 allows me to control this particular section and also to duplicate it. So if I want to make more of something I already have, I copy the code, I paste it, And I've now got two sections called Our Philosophy. Alright, and if I refresh that again, you should find that there are now two of them, and indeed there are two of them there, whereas there was only one a minute ago. Alright, so what I want to do now is, for the second one, I want to put in Google Maps here. I'm going to do Maps, and then I'm going to do Street View after that. So, take away the Our Philosophy first of all, replace that with Google Maps. And I'm going to just take away most of this particular code as well, because this is just placeholder code. But I do want you to, when the time comes, in a few minutes' time, is to put in code that can actually give directions. So, just say the word directions, and I'll let you be specific about the directions themselves. The directions will go there. The other thing, of course, is I now need to go to Google Maps, and I need to find code that will allow me to embed the map onto a website. So how do I do that? Well, what I do is go back to my browser, go to Google Maps, and I find the location that I want to embed. Now, we're doing an assignment based on a company called C4DI, which is a real company in Hull, and we're going to try and embed a map that shows us where C4DI can be found. Now, C4DI, as some of you already know, is an IT company based in the centre of Hull. It's quite near the deep, actually. If I type it in, C4DI is right here, down by the river itself, and the deep across the water on the other side. Okay, so what I want to do is get an image of, not an image in this case, but a map of C4DI and embed it onto the website. So how do I do it? Well, first of all, I get the map exactly how I want it, with C4DI in the middle, and I then click up here and I go to Share or Embed Map. Then go to Embed the Map. In other words, I want to find the code that would allow me to embed the map, and I select it, copy it. There's a very handy feature that allows you to copy the code, copy HTML. Then I go back to my website code and I go, right, where exactly do I want to bang this? So what I need to do is I need to put this in where the image of Bootstrap, or the purple box with the letter B in the middle. If I just show you, just to remind you what that is, it's here. So I want to replace that with the map, okay, this particular section. Back to my code. This is the code that controls that. Select it, delete it, and paste in the new code for Google Maps. Save it. Always very important to save. Back to your browser, do a refresh, F5, and we now have Google Maps embedded on the website. You might think to yourself, well, that's actually kind of narrow. I mean, maybe I'd like to make that a bit wider. And there is a way to do it. You can, of course, go back to the code, and you can find the section of code that controls the width. So instead of 600, you can say make that 1,000. Or you could say, even better, would be 100%. In other words, take up all of the space that's available, no matter what size machine you have, whether it's a phone or whether it's a tablet. Make it 100%, you save, do a refresh, and there you've got a map now that's wider than it was a minute ago. Okay, so that's very, very handy, and it really renders very well on a phone. So if I was to make my browser narrow like that, you can see how the map resizes according to the size of the window, which is again very handy for using on a phone or whatever. Okay. Okay, next section is Street View. We've now done adding a picture to a slideshow, and we've done adding Google Maps. So the third one is to add Google Street View. Much the same as the second one. So we go back to our browser, and we've got to find code that controls that. So instead of that, I'm going to now say, right, I need to get an image of this company, but from Street View. Now, in the main, we have got to stick with the official Google photographs. A lot of people upload their own photographs, like these blue dots. I've done it myself, but for the purposes of this particular task, we've got to make sure that it's an official Google photograph. And the best way to identify those is by looking at the blue lines. Okay, that usually means it was taken with the car that drives around with the camera on the top. So we drag in the little golden man and we drop him on the street, and we see an image of C4DI. It's that building with the sort of the top that kind of overhangs the main entrance. And it's for you then, it's a matter of taste really, is just find the best location to be able to sort of give the user a visual. So you find a picture that you're happy with, and then you go, okay, I want to get the embed code again, 3 dots, share, embed the image, embed the map. I don't know why it's called a map on this, because it's not technically a map, it's a picture, but anyway, you copy the image, copy the text or the HTML, and you've got to put that somewhere. Now, what you do is, I'm going to just find the location for that. So the best way is just to duplicate this. I realize I'll have to copy again in a second, but never mind. So I've just made a duplicate of the Google Maps code. I'm just going to go back to Street View, get the HTML again, as my clipboard got overwritten. And then just in place of the maps code, paste in the Street View code. And just like before, I'm going to change that 600 pixels in width to 100%. Make sure that it's saved. And then we go back to our browser. Close this first of all. Go to the actual website that we're in the process of designing. And we refresh. And we have to wait for a second, it's refreshing. We have maps and we have Street View. Now what I haven't done is I've not changed that to Street View, but that's easily done by just going in here and just going to maps like so, changing it to Street View, save and refresh, and hopefully it says as it takes quite a time to load. We should find that when it does refresh, then we have a website that allows us to see maps and Street View side by side, or at least one over the other, like so, okay? And again, just as with Street View, if you resize, you can actually see how the image of Street View resizes as well, to kind of take account of the person's machine, whether it's an iPad or a phone, whatever, okay? So that is Google Street View. That takes us to the fourth of our 6 points today, which is the podcast. Now, podcasts, of course, are very popular. There are like lots of them around and so on, and people like to listen to podcasts on their phones. We, in order to make our website more interactive and more interesting for the user, we've got to find a way to add podcast. Now, there's numerous ways to do it, but one way that I would suggest is to go to a popular podcast platform, and I've just gone to SoundCloud. Found a podcast on design in general, not specifically web design, but there are loads of podcasts out there, and your job is to find the embed code. Okay, now if I go to say this particular podcast here, usually podcasts will have a button or an option called share. So if you click on the share option and then go to the embed code again, just as with Street View and as with maps, you should be able to find that code. So I'm not going to copy it just yet, but I'm going to copy it in a minute when I've gone back to my code again. I made a new section, this time for the podcast. So I'm going to just take the code that I assembled for the Street View, duplicate it. I'm going to take away the Street View code itself. I'm going to replace the Google Street View here with just SoundCloud podcast, and just in here some generic text about info about the podcast. Now, when it comes to you designing your website, you're not going to put those words in, you're going to put actual information about it. This is just placeholder text. So you go back to your browser, you find the embed code, you copy it, back to Notepad once again, paste it in, you save it, the browser, you refresh, to see how it looks, and you've got a SoundCloud podcast right there now embedded in your website. Okay, so we now have 4 of the 6 items covered. We've got Maps, Street View, podcast, as well as adding an image to our slideshow at the top of the web page. Alright, now you might have noticed in the process of me doing this that there are 3 YouTube videos embedded here, okay, and they're all identical, which is not what I want from your particular website. I want you to like embed 3 or maybe more YouTube videos. So how do you do it? Well, fortunately, there's already code that you have been provided with which can do most of that for you, but there's something that you need to be very, very cognizant of, is the fact that the URL for the individual YouTube videos can be modified based on a particular set of characters in the string. So if you're really eagle-eyed, you might be able to see, you probably won't be, but if you're really eagle-eyed, as I say, you will see that there are 11 characters between the slash and the question mark. In between those 2 characters, there are 11 characters. I want you to change, depending on what kind of video you want to embed. Okay, so bear in mind it's a website about a company and about, I suppose, how forward-looking they are. So, like I say, you might find a better, more suitable video on YouTube, but I just want to have a quick look for a video. What will the world look like in 2025? So, again, if people are kind of forward-thinking, they might be interested in a video like this. People fresh out of university or college, whatever, this is the kind of thing that might get their attention. So what you do is, you go to a YouTube video that you want, look at the end of the URL, the web address, and you copy the 11 characters from the end of that address. You go to your YouTube code, and you very, very carefully take away the 11 characters between the slash and the question mark. You replace them with the 11 characters you just copied from a YouTube video online. You save it, you refresh, and that's not the one I wanted, that's just the YouTube video. Let's just try that again with this. Okay, so refresh this one. And we should find that, all going well, the middle video will have altered from the generic drone footage that I had on there to something else, which it has now done, alright? And what's really cool about this as well, as I say, is that just like the previous assets that you've embedded on your website, if you are on a phone, you should find that the YouTube videos realign into a neat sort of like a vertical line of 3. Where are they? Let's have a look. Is this what they call an epic fail? Let's see. Right, they are here. It's just above our philosophy, and yeah, they seem to have not rendered very well there for some reason. But if you make the machine a bit bigger, or you turn your phone sideways, you should probably find that the videos are there and they will render as normal. And you can see them resizing actually as well as the tablet gets bigger. So they do render. As I say, on an extremely small device, that could be an interesting challenge for us to see can we have a look at in our next video. But they do get bigger, and as I say, when you go full screen, they are their maximum sort of size there. Okay, so that's how you embed a YouTube video onto a particular website. All right. Okay, final one for the moment is hyperlinks in social media. So if you go to your Notepad++ and you go down to the end, there should be a section that controls the social media buttons. The social media buttons, of course, being these things here. Now, right now, these don't go anywhere. Okay? So, if you click on Twitter, it just sends you back up to the top of the web page. Alright? So, how do you insert a hyperlink? Well, actually, if you go to your code and you look at it, I have already made one for Facebook, but that's beside the point. What you do is you carefully remove that hashtag. The hashtag again is a placeholder. So get rid of the hashtag, type in the web address for Twitter, / www.twitter.com, and what I'll do as well is I'll add in a piece of code as follows: target equals speech marks _ blank. Now that might seem like nonsense gibberish. What does that actually do? That is actually the piece of code which, instead of opening it on the same tab in your browser, it'll actually open the link you just clicked in a whole new tab. Right, so the tab you were on won't go or whatever. You'll actually be able to keep that tab open as well as a new one. So that's how you add a hyperlink to an existing button or an existing image in your web design. So you go back to your browser again, press F5 for a refresh. With a bit of luck, it takes a little bit longer every time for it to load up because I'm probably adding more and more content. But this time, when you hover over Twitter, I don't know if you can see it in the bottom left-hand corner, you should now be able to see www.twitter.com in the corner of that web page. And you click on it, opens up a new tab, and there's Twitter's login, which it wasn't doing before. It was just going to the top of the web page again. All right. So that basically allows you to incorporate social media links into your web design as well.